Joining us now is NBC National Security and Global Affairs reporter Dan DeLuce. Dan, it's so nice to see you. I'm wondering if you can explain to those of us who might be a little confused, who are these rebels? These are not the same rebels we remember from the start of the conflict. And are they actually prepared to run this country?
Thank you. It's really a total open question right now, how Syria evolves right now. This group, the HTS as they're known, is descended from al-Qaeda, and they are a terrorist organization designated by the U.S., the UN, and others. But they have tried to present themselves over the past year or so as pragmatic, as something very different from al-Qaeda. They're trying to say that they're inclusive. They have tried to make symbolic gestures to non-Muslim communities or non-Sunni Muslims to try to show that they're ready to govern all Syrians. But of course, there are other rebel factions there. There's the Kurdish forces in the east. There is a rebel force up in the north that's backed by Turkey. And there are other groups beyond that. And so there are huge questions about how power will be arraigned and aligned there, and whether we will see just yet another phase in the civil war or something more stable. And of course, it will be up to a lot of those governments in the region. Turkey is a player. What other Arab governments do will be a huge question.
And this was one of those conflicts, I mean, for those of us who've covered it, that just seemed seemingly intractable after almost a decade. And then all of a sudden, it moved. So what happened? What was the impetus? Why was this group able to all of a sudden take out the Syrian government after so many years of unrest?
That's right. It's amazing how many years this has gone by where it seemed intractable. Well, I would go back to October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. That led to a major retaliation against all of Iran's proxy network, including the Hezbollah militia in Lebanon. And so Iran really suffered serious setbacks over the past year from Israel, and it was depleted. And then, of course, Russia is waging a massive war in Ukraine after its invasion of Ukraine. And so Syrian regime really depended on Russia and Iran. That was what basically saved Assad more than a decade ago. Russian air power and Iranian troops and militias that are trained and armed by Iran. And for whatever reason this time, because Russia and Iran have been distracted and really exhausted by their own conflicts and problems, they were unable and unwilling to come to Assad's aid quickly enough. Air power and some ground troops could have stopped this HTS offensive in the past week, and it didn't materialize. So it really raises a lot of questions about Iran's military and its intelligence services.
Yeah, I'm also wondering what you make of this announcement towards the end of President Biden's remarks, where he said the U.S. actually conducted strikes against ISIS in Syria today. Did that surprise you?
I think that's very significant. I think that's a signal, really, a message to ISIS and other extremists that even without Assad in place, the U.S. is not going to take its eye off the ball in terms of countering terrorism. And I think there is concern that when you have so much turbulence and upheaval in Syria and a vacuum, that groups like ISIS could try to take advantage of the situation, which they have in other similar situations. So I think that was very significant. The U.S. did that. It was both symbolic and concrete. And they were really trying to send a warning to ISIS not to try to take advantage of the situation.
All right, Dan, thank you so much.